Thanks, Juri. Yeah, thank you for having me. And already kind of introduce the topic as I wanted to introduce it as well. I chose AI in the supply chain because I think we have seen over the past few months that sometimes the supply chains perhaps don't work as well as we thought they would. And so I just want to give you a little more insights on some of the use cases that our customers develop today with our solution. I am not going to emphasize too much on how the solution actually works because it's quite complex, and I would rather have this more technical discussion if you're interested later or in a separate meeting, so to say. To have a short look into what opportunities actually lie within supply chain analytics. This is probably not going to be anything shockingly new, but I still wanted to mention this. So what we understand from supply chain analytics is basically the combination of data and quantitative or statistical methods to improve decision-making along the whole supply chain. Supply chain can cover everything from sales and operations planning, but it can also go basically more really to the beginning of the supply chain when it comes to sourcing of raw materials, predicting supply and demand. When it comes to production, how can we optimize the production? How can we identify if the quality of our products is correct? But it can also go more towards the transportation and warehousing. How can we, for example, have real-time routing information? How can we optimize delivery routes of of the delivery people? How can we optimize workloads, etc., etc. And what actually is new when it comes to supply chain analytics with AI is that we go beyond the ERP and supply chain management data, and we actually combine these, let's say, old data sources with newer data, such as, for example, weather data or other external data sources, and we simply apply statistical methods to get further insights into our supply chain, which will then enhance and facilitate the way we take decisions. I think by now we probably all agree that the subject of AI is an important topic basically for every organization. And this is also why almost 85% of all C-suite executives believes that we need to integrate AI into our processes. But if we look actually at the second box in the middle, we see that scaling actually is a huge topic or a huge problem for these organizations as well, because if we don't scale, we will actually never really get the return of investment from AI, and then the other organizations will that actually manage to scale. And this goes together with the number I brought here with me, because actually 76% of the C-suite executives report that they struggle with the scaling efforts. And I just want to take one step back into the, let's say, traditional ML methodology before I'm going to use cases. So why is the struggle so big when it comes to scaling projects, and when it comes actually to turning single POCs into actual value generating use cases? This is a quote actually coming from Google. I'll let you read yourself, but it basically states that one data science project only consists 5% of the actual machine learning code, and 95% is what they call glue code. Glue code covers basically everything from environment, so we need to have the right environment. We need to have the data connections established, which will allow us to access all these different data sources that we have. It also includes all the questions that we have around security, for example. And most importantly, it also includes everything around reusability. So how can we code one part of a project once, and how can we then reapply it to different projects to capitalize on actually what has already been done? And this is one big struggle that we often see today, at least from a DataIKU perspective, in the organizations we work with. Now, looking at the usual, what I call usual ML methodology, I think if you are familiar with the topic AI or data science in general, you know what I'm talking about. So the usual process always starts with the acquisition of the data. We will then explore the data, prepare the data sources, perhaps do some feature engineering. And once we have done that, we will be able to apply an algorithm, test this algorithm, go into this iterative phase. And once we have found an algorithm, or rather a model that fits our needs and that is relevant to our business, we will be able to deploy this, or ideally, we will deploy this project into a productive environment. Now, if we really put this into the context of reality, let me put it like that. And if we look at the full picture, obviously, it's not only about this blue box here that we often think about when you think about developing a model. Rather, we need to, first of all, keep in mind that we do have different data sources, different databases, different APIs that we want to connect together. And once we have actually done once we have found a model relevant for our use case, we want to automate model, and we want to expose and basically transfer the output of the model into dashboards or into operational systems and real-time applications. Now, process already looks kind of complex, but now if we look actually in further into that, and if we think about all the different people that we need for that, we see that this is not a one-man show, and this actually requires people with various skill sets and with various profiles. So we have, for example, a data scientist, we do have a data engineer, but we also obviously need the business experts who will have the knowledge and the expertise of the business case, and he actually understands what's within the data. Whereas the data scientist will probably be able to then translate, once he has understood the business problem, that into a, let's say, code, into a written code. And so along this whole process, we have many different profiles which need to work together in an efficient manner. And this is basically what we at DataIKU are trying to solve with our centralized and inclusive platform, which allows you to cover the end-to-end data science workflow from accessing the data down until basically the improvement and monitoring of a model. And because there are different profiles mandatorily, different profiles are mandatorily part of this process. DataIKU allows our users on one hand side to code in R, in Python. You can see the different coding environments down here. But at the same time, our solution offers a visual interface for the less technical profiles, and this will ultimately create this really close collaboration between different team members. And now, if I'm looking into the precise use cases, you can see that in any of the cases I will present you, there's always a technical person working basically with a non-technical person. So if I look, for example, at Chronopost, for those of you who don't know, Post of France, they developed a use case with DataIKU because they wanted to ensure on-time deliveries during peak activity. And actually, the promise that Chronopost makes to their customers is that once they have received the package in their hands, they will deliver this item the next working day before 1 p.m. But in order to actually be able to forecast that, they needed a model or some form of solution which actually allows them to rate the ease of delivery, because sometimes an address might be difficult to get to, sometimes perhaps we don't have the right information, or maybe there is, the route is, the street is perhaps blocked, etc., etc. And in order to be able to do that, Chronopost created an application which will automatically generate a ease of delivery rating for each single address they need to deliver to. And this solution and this application developed with DataIKU takes into account historical internal delivery data, but it also takes into account geographical data and basically combines these different data sources, which then enables an easy modeling rating for each delivery. And given the fact that this model is continuously enriched and enhanced with new delivery data, basically this is a model that is constantly improving itself. And with this application that Chronopost developed today, now the non-technical people can actually have access to this application and then see if there's any issue, for example, with a specific delivery that they're supposed to execute. Another use case that Chronopost is developing today is, for example, a forecast of numbers of parcels that they will have to handle on specific days at each warehouse, which actually then allows them to, for example, up staff on a specific day if they need more people to handle the parcels that they have. They also have developed, using DataIKU, a project for delay forecasting and for churn prediction for package contracts. And ultimately, these are just use cases, but what do they allow Chronopost actually to do actively? Well, they have, for example, now the possibility to create more and new commercial offers based on the delivery timeframes, and they can now optimize the delivery routes and operations for the people that are in charge of delivering the packages. Another example, which is kind of similar but not the same, is from a large Swiss FMCG who actually uses DataIKU for their van loading optimization. So how does it actually, what is the context behind? So they have different warehouses and they have many different sales agents, and the sales agents actually will charge the van accordingly to a demand planner. And the amount of cartons that are actually put into the van can be manually adjusted by the sales agent, depending on what he thinks might be delivered or must be delivered to the specific point of sales. And you can see here actually on the right-hand side that there are many different, there are up to 38.5 million carton movements annually, which means that at the end of let's say at the end of one delivery day, there were actually many cartons that needed to be put back into the shelves because they were not delivered, because the sales points didn't need a specific product that was loaded into the van. This also means that 50% of everything that had been loaded into the van needed to be unloaded in the evening, which, as you can imagine, requires a lot of manual scans of the sales agents that are actually in charge of delivering the products. Now, I will kind of reveal here what customer it was, but that doesn't matter. So basically, their goal was to predict precisely what total amount of cartons needed to be loaded into each van to reduce as much as possible the amount of cartons that needed to be unloaded at the end of the day. So it's basically about really precise demand prediction. And to show you the results. Sorry, I realized this is not correct here. It should be van loading forecast. But basically what GTI is able to do today with DataIKU is that they were able to reduce the amount of cartons that they need to unload at the end of the day by 15 percentage points. All of this while it didn't have any impact on the out of stock van level. So this means out of stock, or as van level means that there were always enough of one, there was always enough of one specific brand in the van, but never too little, basically. And I think I'm not going to go into every detail here, but the algorithm actually that they used for that also included, for example, seasonality and other factors which might influence the demand and the final loading of the products that they sell. And one last example I wanted to make is more into the direction of finance, but closely related to supply chain. So here we can see that they, GTI wanted to build a cash flow forecast, which is actually going to forecast the incoming and outgoing cash flow for the next 12 months, which obviously helps them to better invest and to better, yeah, I guess, adjust to the demand and supply that they needed to buy. And this was a really manual process with actually a quite high error percentage. As you can see here, the error was 30%. And so they wanted to really improve their rolling cash flow forecast accuracy and make it less manual. And I think I also do have the results. Yes, I do have the results here. So you can see here that the amount they were actually able to better forecast what the actual revenue will be and what the actual cash flow will be rather is quite impressive. And yeah, I'm not going to go too much into detail into how they developed that, but they definitely use DataIKU as part of this project. Now, just to give you a brief insight into what we at DataIKU do. So DataIKU is, for those of you who have never heard of our company, a quite well-established player today in the AI space. So you can see here on the left-hand side some of our customers. You can also see that DataIKU is a completely agnostic solution, which means that we don't focus on FMCG or on automotive, but we rather have expertise in all the different industries. And with that, we do also have a large client base. Today, we have over 300 customers. We are at DataIKU almost 500 data takers by now with a global presence. So we do have our main office in Paris where everything basically started out. But we do have today also an office in Frankfurt, in London, in New York, Singapore, Sydney, and in Dubai. And perhaps for those of you to whom it's interesting, we have raised so far $146 million. And G Capital, which is part of Google, is one of the investors of DataIKU. And that's it from my side. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask me or message me afterwards if you want to find out more how DataIKU actually works.
Super cool, Marie. Thanks so much. Really interesting. Any questions from the audience?
Probably I would start if there's no one else. So did I got it right that it's a technical platform which provides like different roles, like for data engineers, data scientists, or even business guys who don't understand real code. So you provide like the technical base so that you just can connect your databases or whatever with different roles, demanding who's logging in, who sees like different layouts or whatever. Did I got that right?
Yeah, so DataIKU is, as you said, it's just a technical, it's a software. So we are not a consulting firm and we don't provide, let's say, the projects to our customers, but rather, as you said, the DataIKU as a solution will be put on top of the technical infrastructure at our customers. DataIKU has here a server-side architecture, which means that it's not a solution that you install on your desktop. It's nor a solution that is hosted somewhere in the cloud on our side, but rather DataIKU integrates into every imaginable infrastructure that our customers have. So it will be installed on a server. The server is either on premise or somewhere on a VM serverless in the cloud. If you want to use DataIKU basically as a hosted in the, but it will always run on our customers' infrastructure. And from there, you will be able to then aggregate the different data sources. You will be able to prepare the data, as I said, basically cover this whole end-to-end data science workflow. And this can be done, yes, either by the data scientists, if you have data scientists internally at in your organization, writing code or Python, these solutions are directly integrated into the platform. Or you can use a visual interface if you don't know, let's say, how to code. Perhaps to make a more precise example, the way MBC, so Mercedes-Benz Cars, uses DataIKU today in the financial department actually is exactly what I just described. So they have a couple of data scientists who will do the complex tasks, but they also have onboarded quite a numerous amount of controllers who used to work in Excel, and they are actually now using the visual interface of DataIKU to do their, let's say, data analysis, to combine different data sources, and then they will just basically use the code part and the model that has been developed by the data scientists to actually build a model themselves. So it's actually a lot also about enablement and how can we upskill our workflows without teaching them how to code.
So an easy way for data scientists, for example, to get started when you have the connection to your data sources.
Yeah, that as well. So indeed, so sometimes I am completely honest, for data scientists, as you might know, they're not the biggest fan of a visual platform. But indeed, DataIKU will help data scientists to connect easily to the data sources without necessarily asking IT for every single project they want to build. And as DataIKU has the flexibility that you can do whatever you want directly in code, for data scientists in general, you can keep in mind that DataIKU will stay out of your way if you don't want to use the visual interface. But sometimes, especially when it comes to, let's say, cumbersome tasks such as, I don't know, parsing a date, which is kind of long to do in code only, the data scientists can also use the visual interface to just move faster.
Okay.
And then Marie, maybe a further question on this one. Specifically when you kind of elaborate on supply chain management and the different KPIs that you also mentioned for the use cases that you draw out, how much is sort of pre-built in terms of connecting the data, and then there's kind of a template that kind of always kind of brings up the same KPIs, so to say, or is this I need to kind of build based on the technology or the platform that capabilities. So is that something that you kind of roll out as well, and in terms of business capability or business KPIs that are just kind of natural for this kind of specific use case that you might want to use it?
So I'm not sure I completely understood your question, but basically, as I said, you can develop any use case with DataIKU. So you will connect you will have your data, you will prepare the data, you will join different data sets together. Now, if you want, for example, to build a sales forecast, the platform will give you some suggestions based on the, let's say, structure of the data set, which algorithm you might want to use. So let's say sometimes it might make sense to use a random forest, perhaps other times a logistic regression. The software will then give you some let's say recommendations. You can also then change the variables, etc., etc. So DataIKU has always this white box approach. So the tool itself won't decide anything for you. You have the full control of everything, but it will just be supportive to make some suggestions on how you can do the best, how you can score the best model, to then, for example, identify the variables that will help you to build the KPIs that you want to, or that are actually relevant for the specific business case. Not sure if that answers your question, though.
Yeah, sort of, but thanks so much.
Sorry.
No worries. But also we can use the time later on, and I can elaborate a little bit on this one, what I wanted to think about. But anyway, so there's another question from Fabian. Fabian, if you want to unmute yourself, you can actually ask the question yourself. Otherwise, I can also just read it out.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep. Thank you very much. First of all, very good preparation for the meetup, and also the great talks. I'm very much interested to see how these cash flow forecasts are being done, because I think there are a lot of variants when doing such analysis, like seasonality. And also there might be a company that has various sites, and I don't know, maybe they can be used to some extent, or I don't know if there are some other resources like transfer learning being used or so.
Yes, so for this specific DTI cash flow forecast, actually they won a prize by, I don't know, the European Treasury Association, or I don't know, I forgot the precise name of this organization, but actually DTI won a prize for that. And DTI actually did a webinar about this cash flow forecast. So what I would suggest is that you can reach out to me and I can send you these, let's say, further resources, and then you can have a look at them, and we can have a more detailed discussions around that, if that works for you.
Very good, thank you.
I don't know how you can get my email address, but I guess Juri, you will share it afterwards, right?
I can, of course. Otherwise, Marie, feel free to.
Oh yeah, I can put it in the chat. Smart. Yeah.
Send it. You can also just send it via chat exclusively to Fabian if you want.
Okay.
But how you want it. Cool. I think. Thanks so much, Marie. Super exciting. Helpful. I think it's a great platform. And yeah, I mean, you know, please share your contact details if more people are interested. Of course, that's something you might want to pick up.
Sure.